their exploration, but were thwarted by a deluge of unknown origin that flooded the pit. Following the rapid dissemination of the news of the discoveries, a flurry of international treasure hunters descended upon Oak Island in search of the hidden wealth. The first planned excavation of the money pit took place in 1803, under the leadership of a group of investors known as the Onslow Company. They were given their own money pit. The excavations had to be terminated because the parties' attempts to descend to the pit's floor were unsuccessful. The following century saw a variety of groups try to solve the island's riddles, but due to the enormous difficulties they encountered, none of them were successful. The hole was flooded, which was the most significant of these, and made additional excavation unsafe and difficult. The importance of this aspect was the greatest of all. Additionally, the pit was wired with a number of devices that, when activated, would cause the pit to fill with water and keep anybody from discovering the treasure. Despite these barriers, the excavations persisted, and the Oak Island Treasure Company was founded in 1861. The flooding that was taking place in the pit prevented this specific squad's attempts from progressing past a depth of 90 feet. As a result of the bankruptcy of the Oak Island Treasure Company in 1909, the excavations were abruptly ended at that time. Since then, a number of additional teams have tried to locate the riches that is hidden on Oak Island, but the enigma of the money pit has remained a secret. The discovery of the money pit and the initial excavations on the island both had a significant impact on the evolution of the island's history, as well as the ongoing search for treasure there. Even with the challenges and roadblocks that were encountered, this is true. Despite the various challenges and disappointments that have been encountered over the centuries-long search for riches on Oak Island, the mystery surrounding the island's location continues to fascinate people. The quest to unravel the mystery surrounding the island has recently been taken on by a number of new entities. In 2010, the Oak Island Tourism Society was founded as a group dedicated to preserving the island's history and encouraging tourism. The most notable change to have taken place in recent years is this one. The Oak Island Archaeological Society has played an important role in raising public knowledge of Oak Island and the treasure hunt, in addition to participating actively in several archaeological digs on the island. Get on the mailing list right away to learn about fresh information and surprising findings about Oak Island. The Lagena brothers will probably receive the lion's share of the treasure, it appears. First of all, the Lagena brothers' ongoing search of Oak Island is authorized by the Treasure Trove license. Licensed treasure hunters are allowed to legally keep 90% of any wealth they uncover, according to a government rule. Marty goes on to suggest that it is very likely that multiple claimants would surface and argue that they had a right to the treasure's contents if a sizable treasure were found on Oak Island. These claimants may rely on some element of their residence, their ancestry, or another factor to support their claims. There will undoubtedly be a lot of people trying to get their hands on at least some of the fabled riches, but it is impossible to say who, if anyone, will be successful. The Lagena brothers and the government would both have legitimate rights over at least some share of the treasure, making them the obvious choice for at least two recipients. However, it is impossible to predict if a situation like this would ever happen in The Curse of Oak Island. A team of researchers are shocked by my shocking revelation. For additional information, watch the video after this one. The show focused on one of the most significant archaeological finds discovered throughout the course of the series. Drayton and Rick Lagena found a solid lead cross at the seashore after bringing their metal detectors there. It was discovered after analysis that the artifact most likely originated in the 13th century. Additional investigation establishes a link between Oak Island and the Knights Templar in subsequent episodes. Another of Drayton and Rick Lagena's gems was uncovered with a metal detector in the 6th season's opening episode. To search for hidden wealth, they traveled to a region of the island that had not previously been investigated. They moved a big boulder, dragged it up from under it, and found copper in a well-preserved cartwheel 2 pence. Drayton uses his metal detector to focus on a signal, which Rick Lagena uses as a guide to find and unearth a jeweled brooch. Leaded glass was used to make the gem, and gold was utilized to make the other parts of the jewelry. This archaeological gem was uncovered thanks to the use of ground-penetrating radar. It was initially thought to be a crossbow bolt, but an authority on antiquities has speculated that it might have been a javelin, a weapon used by the Romans more than 2,000 years ago. The team finds a metal object in the second episode of the 9th season that appears to be the object they have been looking for since the beginning of the show. Further inspection reveals that only a small fraction of the object is truly made of gold. Through each season, the show explores the exploits of full-time treasure hunters, and the secrets surrounding Oak Island only grow more complicated. For historical research, their findings made with metal detectors open up previously imagined doors, but you can get the same results with your own gear. Always make careful to get permission before searching for anything on someone else's property or on open space. It is widely acknowledged that the discovery of the island's money pit marked the beginning of the history of treasure hunting on Oak Island. The pit, often known as the money pit, is a human-made hole that is frequently assumed to be the location of the lost treasures. The story goes that in 1795, while on an adventure on the island, a group of boys around the age of 13 discovered a dip in the earth. They began digging since they believed it to be a fake hole, and as they dug, they found multiple layers of wood and other things. However, a mysterious flood stopped them in their tracks, filling the hole with water and blocking any further excavation. As soon as word of the discovery spread, treasure seekers from all over the world flocked to Oak Island to look for the loot. The Onslow Company, a group of financiers, organized the first orderly excavation of the money pit in the year 1803. Despite their best efforts, the gang was unable to reach the bottom of the hole, and as a result, they had to cease digging. Many various groups made attempts to unravel the riddles surrounding the island throughout the course of the ensuing century, but they were all in vain. The most serious of these was the flooding of the pit, which made unsafe and difficult further research in the area. The hole was also equipped. The enthralling tale of persistent search culminates in a horrible final excavation that rewrites history and challenges the human imagination. Prepare to be astounded because reality is more magnificent than your wildest dreams. It's the Lagena brothers again. During the final phase of excavation at Oak Island, they made a terrible discovery with their crew. On the 140 acres of the supposedly cursed Oak Island, the Lagena brothers and metal detector expert Gary Drayton have primarily discovered clay, wood, and metal implements. But they have also discovered a number of rare artifacts. But what precisely are these insanity-inducing discoveries they make during the final Oak Island excavation? As we unearth each piece of treasure discovered in the final section of The Curse of Oak Island, the truth becomes apparent. When the excavation reached a depth of 190 feet, a subterranean vault that had been concealed for a long time was discovered. There was an overwhelming sense of surprise and disbelief. The group cautiously entered the room as their pulses raced in anticipation. Inside its dimly lit confines, they witnessed an extraordinary sight. In front of them was a glittering tableau of extraordinary wealth, comprised of piles of gold and silver coins, antique artifacts, and priceless diamonds. The treasure was quickly estimated to be worth billions, making it one of the most significant discoveries in history. The artifacts disclosed a rich history, connecting Oak Island to antiquity and validating long-debated hypotheses. As news of the discovery spread like wildfire, it attracted the attention of historians, archaeologists, and treasure hunters all over the globe. As specialists dedicated their time to discovering the treasure's origins and legends, Oak Island became the focal point of the investigation. The Lagena brothers have spent their entire 9-season tenure searching for treasures buried on the island by the Knights Templar, British soldiers, or even Spanish pirates. In the Season 1 finale of The Curse of Oak Island, titled The Find, metal detectorist Steve Zazalik discovered a 8-inscribed coin while investigating a swamp. Later, it was determined that it was a copper Spanish 8 maravedis coin from the 17th century. In the Season 2 premiere, Once In, Forever In, the coin was cleansed and examined, revealing that 1652 was inscribed on the reverse. Additional examination of the coin revealed that it had been lost in the marsh for hundreds of years and was not a recently deposited object. All indications pointed to the fact that this was a legitimate historical discovery, the first of many throughout the program. Could this inconspicuous copper coin be evidence of previously undiscovered pirate treasure? The Lagena brothers appeared to be on the right track in their search for Oak Island's concealed wealth. In the second episode of the second season, Return to the Money Pit, treasure hunter Gary Drayton discovered not one, but two distinctive treasures while metal detecting. He made his first discovery near Oak Island's shore. Drayton and his associates discovered a button from a 17th century military officer's uniform, although it is unknown to which military it belonged. However, it could be evidence that the military was responsible for some of the confidential information on the island. In the interim, Drayton and his companions discovered their second find of the day in a nearby forest. A small coin that appeared to be a 17th century Maravedi similar to the one discovered in the season finale of the previous year was concealed in the soil. Compared to other coins, however, this one was substantially smaller, perhaps the size of 2 Maravedis as opposed to 8. Even though they are small, these incredible discoveries may point to a larger treasure hidden on Oak Island. In the third episode of the second season, The Eight-Pointed Star, Gary made 2 astounding scientific discoveries. This time, Drayton and his companions discovered 2 17th century King Charles II Britannia coins buried beneath the pebbles and pyrite strewn along the coastline. One of the coins clearly displayed the year 1771 on its surface, indicating that they were centuries ancient. Where did these 17th century coins originate? They may have been abandoned by treasure hunters in a hurry, or more fervently, could they have been abandoned on Oak Island by a wealthy gang that came there to conceal their loot? Undoubtedly, the Oak Island team would need to conduct additional investigation. Diver and treasure hunter Tony Sampson cleaned the coin and observed what appeared to be a cross pattern on one side. This peculiar cross may be the emblem of the Knights Templar, who established one of the earliest global financial systems in the 13th century. Could this coin have been used for finance by the Knights Templar? Who can say? What initially appeared to be the discovery of a small Spanish Maravedi coin may in fact be a crucial clue leading to a large amount of Knights Templar treasure concealed on Oak Island. In Circles in Wood, the 6th episode of the 4th season, Gary Drayton, along with associate producers and fellow treasure hunters Jack Begley and Alex Lagena, conduct metal detecting on land formerly owned by former slave-turned-caduceus farmer Samuel Ball. Drayton and his companions initially uncovered a piece of chain buried in the ground, but as they continued their investigation, they eventually uncovered a small copper and bronze ring. They persevered, confident that they were on the correct track, and uncovered a coin that could be hundreds of years old. Samuel Ball, one of the wealthiest residents of Oak Island, owned 36 acres of the island. Did cabbage cultivation contribute to this wealth? Or maybe Ball discovered a treasure? These discoveries could represent a minor portion of the Oak Island treasure ball. Gary Drayton, a metal detecting specialist, and Charles Burkhouse, an Oak Island historian, continue their investigation of Samuel Ball's property in Season 4, Episode 8, The Mystery of Samuel Ball, where they make a number of intriguing discoveries. The first item that Drayton and Burkhouse discover is a gentleman button, which is commonly found on 1700s clothing. They soon unearth numerous King George II coins from the 18th century, as well as a lead ingot used to create musket balls. Drayton hypothesizes that these artifacts are the remnants of a military camp, after uncovering what appears to be an engraved metal tag from the bottom of a handgun. Were these campers from the 18th century searching for forgotten wealth or abandoning it? In the 1700s, the only thing that can be said with absolute certainty is that Oak Island was extremely active. In Blood is Thicker, Episode 15 of Season 4 of The Curse of Oak Island, Gary employs a metal detector to examine the objects Rick and Marty Lagina had unearthed at the Gal 1 excavation site. They initially assume it to be a coin, but quickly realize that the word plated is engraved on it. Dr. Laurie Vanderlande, an expert in antique valuation, examined